Hi everyone, Kate here with a Betsy Ray reading list for you. So a few years ago, there was going around a Rory Gilmore reading list. So Rory Gilmore is a character from the TV series Gilmore Girls, and she is a voracious reader and is reading constantly throughout the series. And so someone put together a list of every single book that Rory reads, and it has become a reading list. And I thought it would be fun to do the Betsy Ray reading list. Now, I will say, this is not an exhaustive list. I did make a decision to eliminate some books because there are so many on the list. I just didn't feel like making a video that long. At some point, I might do a part 2, but I kind of picked the highlights, and I have 21 books or authors to reference for you in this. So I will just get started. First of all is Little Women and Little Men. And I think it only makes sense that these would be referenced in this series because they were immediately popular books. Now, I have to say that Little Women I definitely prefer over Little Men. That is one of the strengths, I think, about the Betsy-Tacy series is that it just stays so good as it carries on. But I love Little Women, and so I think that Maud would definitely appreciate the March family and the struggles that they go through, and Louisa's just really charming writing style in it. And then there is the Bible. Betsy is a very devoted Christian, and I like that that is included throughout the series. She's always kind of examining her faith, not so much in the younger books, but in the high school books, and it's a very big deal. In one of the books, she becomes an Episcopalian. She had grown up Baptist, and that's a big deal. And then later on, you see her taking her Book of Common Prayer with her, which I love knowing because I own a Book of Common Prayer. So I love knowing that, you know, the same book that Betsy has that Maud would have had too. I own the same one because I have the 1932 Book of Common Prayer. So yes, she talks about reading the Bible as well. And then number 3 on the list, which I was so excited that I can say, yes, I've read this one now, is Don Quixote. So this is definitely, I'm not surprised that Betsy has read this because she goes to the library and says, I want to read the classics. That is one of her goals. So yes, she would want to read Don Quixote. So it was very fun to think that I read that same book and to enjoy it so much. I didn't know if I was going to enjoy it, but I really loved Don Quixote. And then we get to Lady Audley's Secret. Now, Lady Audley's Secret, the way it is referenced, is very memorable. It's at the very beginning of Betsy and Tacy go downtown. And Tacy had borrowed from Betsy's maid a copy of Lady Audley's Secret. And her father found it in the house. Tacy's father did. And he said, what is this garbage? And he tosses it into the fire. And he slowly asks each of his kids, was it yours? Was it yours? Was it yours? And finally, he's so distraught when he finds out that it's Tacy. And he says, we have, in this house, we have Shakespeare. We have Dickens. We have good books. What are you doing reading this trash? And I really don't think Lady Audley's Secret is that different from many Dickens books. So I'm hoping to actually put an article in the e-newsletter, the Betsy-Tacy e-newsletter, in defense of Lady Audley's Secret, because I think that Tacy's father is very wrong in condemning it without reading it. The next one on the list is The Three Musketeers. This is one that is like tippity top of classics I would like to read. It seems like it's just full of fun. It is very long, so I have to be very motivated to get through it, but it seems like one that could be fun. Maybe even I could fit it in like in August and September. It could be a fun, longer classic to linger with when I'm in a weird reading mood. I don't know. We'll have to see. Maybe it'll have to be next year. Another one that I desperately want to read is Ben-Hur. And this is one that I don't hear many people talking about. So I know that Anne Shirley is caught reading it when she's supposed to be doing homework. And I have seen the movie many, many, many years ago. But it's one that seems like it would be a very engrossing adventure type story. And I would love to read it. Number 7 on the list is Pride and Prejudice. And I have nothing but wonderful things to say about Pride and Prejudice. I love that Betsy read it, and just such a wonderful book. So I just love knowing that she would know different quotes and references. Even the most excellent boiled potatoes, Betsy Ray would know about that. And then we get to Wuthering Heights. In Betsy's early writing career, she writes very dramatic, kind of Lady Audley Secret style stories. So I'm not surprised that she would read Wuthering Heights. And I don't think much is said about it. It just references that she had read it. Now, one that really intrigued me because the title is so lovely, and it is When Knighthood Was in Flower. I looked this up on Goodreads. I think it was written in 1898. It was an American author, and someone said that their grandmother said it was her most favorite book. It's the one that had stuck with her the most in a Goodreads review, and that really intrigued me. And I think it's kind of Arthurian legend, historical fiction, and it is in the public domain. I think it's on Project Gutenberg, so I could easily get a hold of it. I think it is fairly long, so I would have to take my time with it, but that one intrigued me. Then 2 Shakespeare plays. As You Like it's very memorable in the series because in the book Betsy and Joe both get each other a Christmas gift, and they open them. They aren't together when they open them, and they both had gotten each other a beautiful red leather-bound copy of As You Like It. So now that is one that I recently read. I read in the month of May, and now I can enjoy that I read this one that they love, and even I didn't realize a reference until I watched a talk about Maud and Delos, Betsy, her inspiration. There's a chapter in Betsy's Wedding called The Golden World, and I had never realized before that it is a reference to As You Like It. And the other Shakespeare play that is referenced is Hamlet, which I have not yet read, but is definitely a top priority Shakespeare I would love to read. Then David Copperfield, and this one is really fun because there is a boy that Betsy goes on a few dates with. I think it's in... maybe Betsy was a junior, but his name is Dave Hunt, and he is so quiet. He never talks to her except just to say, I'm going to pick you up, at this time before the dance, and just shows up. Or he doesn't even ask her, and he just shows up. And she jokes with her friends that she's going to memorize David Copperfield, and that's what she and Dave Hunt can talk about. She'll just recite David Copperfield to him. Then there is a really fun part when Betsy and Joe are dating. At one point, Joe sits down with her and he says, I heard you say that you think Les Mis is the greatest novel ever written. I think Vanity Fair is. Let's debate it. And I just love the book love between those two. I definitely am on Betsy's side on this, though. I enjoyed Les Mis miles above how I enjoyed Vanity Fair. Then a couple other Dickens that are referenced are Little Dorrit, Martin Chuzzlewit. Those are definitely lower down ranked for me as far as Dickens go. But I did really enjoy David Copperfield. Then the next one is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And this is an adventurous novel by Jules Verne. I would really like to read some Jules Verne. He's one of those authors that's kind of like, oh, why haven't I read him yet? So I would like to, although I might start with Around the World in 80 Days. I feel a bit more intimidated for some reason by 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And then one that I had not heard of before, and that is Sentimental Tommy by J.M. Barrie. So the author of Peter Pan, and this falls into the Victober parameters. So maybe I will add Sentimental Tommy to my Victober TBR. Joe is reading this for leisure in Betsy's Wedding, but he doesn't say much about it. Then the Shuttle by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Unfortunately, the Shuttle is one that I don't get on with Frances Hodgson Burnett's writing style. So I've tried reading it, and I don't know, something about it. I don't know if I'm up for it. Then The Song of the Lark by Willa Cather. This is one that I have read and really, really loved. It has some really breathtakingly beautiful passages that will always stick with me. And I love that there is a specific piece of music, which I can't remember the name right now, but I'm going to include it linked down below. And it's referenced in the book. It's very significant in one scene. And I listened to it while I was reading that scene. Like, I looked it up so I could listen to it while reading that scene. And now that scene is just forever cemented in my brain. Then the next one is The Beloved Vagabond, which is talked about on Betsy and the Great World. I know that Emma from The Bookish Princess read it and enjoyed it. I do know that members of the Betsy-Tacy Society, they have really struggled with it, and several have just considered themselves conquered by it and have not finished it. So I don't know how I will feel about it, but at some point I think it'd be really fun if I ever went on a big trip, maybe like Emma did, reading The Beloved Vagabond. And then we get to Daddy Longlegs. This is one I read a couple years ago, and it is written in epistolary form. A girl is sent to college by an anonymous donor. She just has to write to him and send him regular updates about her schooling. I have to say that I enjoyed this, but I don't think I fell head over heels in love with it like everyone else did. It's definitely one of those fun, cozy, light academia books. It just didn't really knock my socks off, but I definitely enjoyed it. Then Penrod, the Penrod series is referenced. And this is one I remember my dad reading. There's, I think, maybe 3 in the series. My dad reading to me as a child. And even when he bumps into another kid, they say, "Excuse me, got your bumpus." And then it's just still a family phrase for us. So I would love to come back to Penrod, and I think maybe my son would enjoy it. I do have access to the audiobook, but I didn't really like the narrator. So I think if and when I read it, it will be a physical copy because I don't really remember much of it. And then lastly, I did not do my homework before this, and I wanted to read it to you. Betsy talks about at the Violent Study Club that she and Joe attend together in Betsy's wedding, the first Snowfall, which is a poem by James Russell Lowell. And I looked up the whole poem, and it is beautiful, purple prose, if you love that kind of style. So I will put the names of all of these books down below, including the name of the poem, and you can look it up for yourself. And maybe I will read it aloud when the first Snowfall happens later in the year. I hope that you enjoyed getting to hear about this list of books. There were about maybe 10 to 12 more that I didn't talk about in this, so maybe at some point I will do a part 2. Thank you as always for watching, and I am just forever grateful to the Betsy-Tacy series for just bringing just such joy to my life. So it's just fun to do more videos involving Betsy-Tacy. Thank you as always for watching, and I will be back with another video soon. Bye.